Hello. This is my review of the Metroid Dread Amiibo pairs. It's a year late, but it's right on time because in just a week there's going to be a Metroid Dread all day long Emmy Day stream. Yay! It's on the anniversary, and it's a holiday that I've invented about pacifying the spirits of the machines in your life by playing Metroid Dread all day long with your loved ones. To get in the spirit, we have this review, and I happened to just kind of spew ideas into a full-on vomit of Nintendo and all of the Amiibo that I own have become involved. Because I think in order to really review the Amiibo, you have to kind of like contextualize them among each other because they're all working on the same constraints, right? They all have the same size base and they're all relatively allowed to be the same size. So you kind of fall into this world of very, very simple ones, not much detail is lost. And back in the day, there was a lot of discussion about the more detailed ones because there'd be a lot more room for face detail, clothes detail, threads, to use the Good Smile company figures as reference, which I often will. Nendoroids, right, are small, kind of chibi deformed, and they're the size of a very small potato. But a Figma is like an action figure, it's to scale, it's realistic proportions, and it can be larger. So that's normally where you would see something like the CMS or the Emmy, it's bigger. It's really hard to get detail into these little sizes, but I think that's kind of the heart of my review is they really came a long way. These are some Amiibo from last year. My collection used to just be these guys. And in the last year, I've really come into some Amiibo wealth. So Skyward Sword Zelda, right, came out last year, and she's even weirder. She adds even more to this picture. She's got a bird. The bird is pretty big. It's not exactly breaking Amiibo law, but you can see there's a lot of detail on feathers. I mean, the bird itself is a pretty good size for an Amiibo. Looks like a good bird. But Zelda herself is kind of shrunk. But you can see compared to the Lucina I held up, her face is pretty detailed. Well, actually, it might be a bad night for faces because I'm not a cinematographer and I can't really get the camera to focus where I want it. Let's see if we can get the shadow off there. No, we can't because that's the beak. But you can see her mouth is open. She's got big eyes. It's a world of difference from how detailed figures used to be. I mean, Lucina's not the worst thing in the world, but they've got a lot of detail. And you know what has a lot of detail? That's a great shot. I keep the camera steady, but I can't keep the Amiibo steady at the same time. So this is Dreadsuit Samus. She's like a bomb pop, a 4th of July rocket pop color as she is. I quite like this suit. I just like it. It speaks to me. Not in an America way, but the colors are nice, I like how her back, her fast thrusters, her head, and her chest are red, That's kind of where your body keeps the warmth, right, A lot of warmth comes from the heart. This is kind of the warmer parts of your body. The rest is colder. So even though it's a little bit weird, I don't know. I think the color scheme is kind of weird, especially when you add in the greens and other things. I think overall it's kind of cool. I think there's cool parts and warm parts, and they balance out. Yeah, we had the focus. Let's get the focus back. Come on. What else could you possibly be looking at? Yeah. So here we can see the greens. There's green in her visor and her shoulder. It's a bit hard to tell with this light. Again, this isn't Hollywood. This is Melovania. And here's one of my favorite things is look how sinewy this part of her shoulder bumps is. It's very, detailed. It's very, fibrous, like a wood pulp or something. I think that must come. I've only just begun to play Metroid Fusion. I think this comes from the partial biological nature of her fusion suit and her now dread fusion suit. I think Fusion will teach me how exactly that works, but I believe there is meant to be a kind of biological feel here, which I think is actually really cool in Dread, because Dread does have that contrast of living and the inorganic, right? There's like biological research areas and robots fighting people. We've got a robot person. There's just a lot of like living things in a very unliving environment kind of vibe. And then I think one strength, besides, Samus obviously having this somewhat human, somewhat robot feel, is I don't know how to analyze a good horror movie monster. I come from a horror family, but I don't really like horror myself. So I don't know what makes a good horror movie monster, but I know that this is scary. Look at it. Look at the Emmy's giant claw. This kind of has some parts of just me appreciating the design of these characters, but how scary these giant feet are. And then you have it raised at you in this pose we have here, and it's just terrifying. Like, it's very easy to read an Emmy, especially in its animation, as like somewhat organic, like a horrible bear, like a horrible bear crab spider, a bear spider maybe, except for the terror of it being built like a Honda SUV. One thing I noticed when looking at this is look how much like a spinal cord this is, and it's really well done. It's got its layers and everything. It really is. It's really spinal. It's scary. This looks like a rib cage, and this looks so much like a human spine. It's so unsettling, and it's really cool, like a scary skeleton ghoul in a pirate film. Let's see. Oh, I got it. Check this out. Oh, I'm gonna ruin it. Check this out. What is it? Boy, this is hard stuff. The mesh, the material, whatever is movable here in its neck. I was gonna use a she pronoun in her neck. It looks scaly. Like in one hand, it looks like a tire or something very clearly inorganic, but at the same time, it also looks like a lizard. I think that's one of the crazier details, and it really, really translated to the Amiibo. Like, detail be damned, we're going to put all of it in. I think that really kind of brings it home for me. I'm like, this thing looks like a snake. It looks like a snake bear spider. It's straight up terrifying. With all Emmy merch and art, they're able to do sometimes the open face, the like, kind of like a flower? I don't know. When these four parts go, such as to kill you with the DNA stabber, I think the head looks a lot better. I was kind of bummed when I realized that the default Emmy face is just like a little nub head. I mean, it's neat that it lights, it's actually transparent. That's neat, but the actual head is kind of dull. I'm used to these things going like whoosh, like killing me, and I think the design is stronger in that moment of killing me. But this is an Emmy. Moving on to what that means for the general pose and stuff of the Amiibo is that they're very much made around each other. I think that's pretty easy to tell. Let's see if we can get closer. Samus is down. It's not quite her pose from the cover art, but there is art somewhat similar where they're at an angle like this. Yeah, they're clearly working with each other. Emmy is bigger, scary, raising her hand, and Samus fits right under there in defiance, and that's pretty sick when they're together. I don't often separate them. They're really made for that exact same thing. But this comes to my sort of thing with them is this is a fine Emmy statue. Good Smile recently put out some stuff for some new big boy figures of these guys. And there is a new Emmy statue that is huge and hundreds of dollars and really, really nice. But pretty much immediately I was like, no, I don't exactly need that. I'm pretty happy with my desk Emmy. I put it out when I need to be afraid, and I think it's a perfectly good Emmy. I don't really need a giant one. So congrats. I know a lot of people love the Guardian amiibo from Breath of the Wild, and I think it's similar to that. They did a good job. They did a good job here. Let me really get down on the level with them here. This is going to take some expert cinematography. Yeah. There we go. Oh yeah, I bet you're afraid. These are the first amiibo made to inspire dread. We're out of focus though. Yeah, I very much like how the Emmy is in all ways. I wouldn't change very much, especially for an amiibo. It's a lot of terror for the size. Samus though, when you take away the Emmy, is I think a lot less impressive because she's so posed to be with the Emmy. It's like, oh, you're always hunched over, aren't you? Like, compare her to Lucina. Lucina's got a whole Lucina going on. She's tall, she's got a cape moving. But Samus is like, she's like a mini Transformer, if you ever had those. She's so small. She's so pretty and detailed, and the pose is excellent in its own way. The back's very nice. But like, you know, compare her to Zelda, like, there's just so much less going on. She takes up so much less space. And, I don't know, I think, compared to the other Samus Figma from, not Figma, Amiibo from Smash, which I had, the original one, that pose is a lot more impressive on its own. They could have picked a lot of different poses that I think would have done more on their own. But in this case, like, so much of her is, like, hunched over. Like, I personally find, like, kneeling down, like, taking one knee and, like, scoping out your environment to be, like, one of the coolest poses ever for no damn reason. It's just my own bias. But even I, who find, like, kneeling poses and, like, shrunken down poses to be cool, I don't know, this pose isn't quite everything. Look at that arm. Look how many angles you don't even see the arm from for how nice it is. It's such a bummer. But great news about that is I've been watching pre-orders for the Dread Figma, which unlike the Emmy, I want really badly. And I have wanted badly for months, so I have been stalking Good Smile until I can get it. And just a couple days ago, while I was preparing for this, I actually it went live and I finally got one. So that will be its own video next year. Late next year. It's delightful. It's just perfect. You can really appreciate the detail. And you can pose her however you like. You know, we could even have a guest appearance from my Lucina Figma. It's my only other Figma, and God, it's just such a nice kind of object, the Figma. How much more time can I buy? I'm trying to get the camera to be even again. Okay, delightful stuff. The final and most important note for these two is, look at this chunk of spaceship. The base for the Emmy is just this raw, destroyed metal slab. It is so cool. It is so cool. But these are my first Metroid Amiibos because I don't have $180 to cough up for the Samus Returns ones. And the Metroid base itself is actually pretty clean. The blue with the shiny sparky logo. That's pretty cool on its own. So that is my big review of these two guys. But I'm not done. I actually have, while we're here, a whole other section of this video, should you be interested in just Amiibo story time. I'm just going to walk you through when I got all of these, because some of them aren't that interesting. Like these guys, I was just like walking past them now and again at Target last year, and I was like, hey, they're still here. I didn't think I wanted them, but now I do. And then I actually love it. I didn't really care that much for them till I bought them, and then I really fell for them. So they are some of my favorites, but there's so many more stories buried in here, so I would like to regale you with them. If you're just here from Metroid, you've seen it all, but I will show you my Lucina Figma because she lives at my desk. She'll make more of an appearance when I someday get that Figma, but she's so freaking cool. She's so freaking cool and posable. I broke her hand almost immediately upon getting her. Like the very first night when I was posing her back in 2000 whatever teen, her hand came right off, but it's easy to put it back in. Legitimately, one of her wrists is broken. She's the best. I really like having a Figma on my desk. Back you go. Okay. Where's my glass of water? I have no water. Well. Let me tell you about a Nintendo specific luxury baby toy product with Skylanders DNA. Back in the day, there was like the Smash Amiibos and nothing else. And this was peak for like stories because these were so rare, especially the anime ones like Rosalina, Marth. Those are some of the first early ones that you just couldn't get because stock was so limited. People would just get them and scalp them. So 2014 and 2015 were just a graveyard for collecting Amiibo. And they were such like luxury things. Like especially, oh my god, Marth was like a legendary item back in the day. They ended up figuring it out even by like the second wave of Lucina. She was able to stay on shelves at Best Buy, but oh my god, they did not have it down from the get-go. There were some tough years where people just did not have Amiibos at all. And Kirby was one that would be in fine stock. So Kirby I just bought. He was my first Amiibo. He was one of them. I also had a Pikachu that I gave to my friend because he played Pikachu and some other characters I got for him in Smash. But Kirby has remained from my OG Smash Amiibos, but Lucina has the best story. I was obsessed with Lucina in Fire Emblem Awakening in high school. I was fully obsessed. I was obsessed with Smash 2 for like my whole childhood, and I thought it was just like a crazy fantasy that they would ever go beyond 2 Fire Emblem characters in Smash, and if they did, everybody knew they would just replace Ike with Chrom. That didn't happen. So once she got into Smash, my passion was just like gone. I got like 4 more years out of my Fire Emblem phase. I was just obsessed. So I was extremely determined to get her Amiibo once it came out, but I knew how bad it was. So I showed up to her wave on release day, and my local Target, I came in just like 5 minutes late, and there were just guys walking out the store with huge bags of stuff to scalp. Like they just robbed the place blind. There was no limit per customer back then. They just didn't have it down. So I got there, and it was the saddest thing. I was in a line with like 4 people, and they were like, Wario's gone. No, Charizard's gone. Pac-Man's gone. And I got there, and it was just like Jigglypuff, and I was like, I don't really want that. So I got to GameStop, which opened much later, and there was this nerd. There was this guy out there in a lawn chair, and he had been there for hours. And our GameStop knew that this would be bad, and they just had a sign that was like, we have 1 Ness. He's like, we have two Robins, we have 1 Ness, and we have 1 Lucina. And I was being the hero, so I told my friends I would pick up some Amiibos because I knew I'd be here trying to get Lucina. And I sat and talked to this guy who was just like filling out his collection, and I just told him, and I poured out my heart about Lucina and my gender and my story, and I talked him into letting me have the Lucina and 1 Robin to give to a friend. And I also saw him get talked out. Another guy came and he was like, you don't get it, guys, like, Ness is my favorite character ever. He was like this normal looking guy with like a striped shirt and glasses going to his like normal dude job selling phones or whatever. He was so like living and breathing Ness. He was like grown up Ness, and he talked to the guy, the nerd with the book in the chair, into giving him the other Ness. And we got a selfie, actually, the 3 of us, when we picked up the Amiibos. That was how like polite it ended up being. I was so like Great Depression child about Amiibos after that when second wave Lucina came out, Best Buy had a good amount of stock, and I couldn't say no. So I for a long time owned like 6 more Lucinas. I had like 7 Lucinas, and then when I moved out, I had to like give them to my friends. Like there are some friends of mine who have multiple Lucinas for me because of that. So that's the best story. These 2 I got because I saw that Happy Home, no, not Happy Home Designer, but Amiibo Festival was on sale for like $3, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna start collecting more amiibos. So I bought them, and that's the whole story. But back then I was at like the peak of my Animal Crossing love, so I was super excited. I love them. It's just funny having Digby. I'm like, Digby? Who has Digby? They fall on the side of things where I think they look great as amiibos. I wouldn't even need them any bigger, and I think it's very cute having them in their Animal Crossing style in this size. So they look delightful, and I'm fond of them. This is where we get into the big divide, huh? I didn't talk that much about my thoughts about amiibo sizes, but I really meant to. So I think amiibo kind of fall into two categories, right? I think you got these guys. It's complicated how DDD ended up over here. You have kind of the shrunken people with a lot of detail, right? They look more or less okay together. When you really put them next to each other, it's like, no, Lucina's not that much bigger than Zelda. But then, like, Lucina to Samus is like, that looks fine. It looks reasonable. But where stuff really falls apart is the Splatoon amiibos. Like, no, Lucina and Callie are not the same height. And I think DDD looks fine with the Kirby amiibos normally, but you're not telling me that Callie's bigger than King DDD. Not remotely. And then you get to the Loftwing and it's like, okay, just stop. Just stop. So King DDD is kind of a free agent, but I can't. Now that I have all of these, I just can't. I think that there's one half that looks pretty to scale and one half that is so shrunken that it just hurts to look at them. So I believe that while we're talking about scale, these are the amiibo that look the best. Oh my god. I have never had Splatoon amiibo before a week ago. I just became obsessed with the Squid Sisters like in January, so I didn't buy Splatoon amiibos back in the day, but I've been living on re-releases, and I got a pre-order. I had been stocking things. I knew that the restocks were coming for Splatoon 3. I had been stocking so hard, and then the night before Splatoon 3 came out, I was like, wait, it's almost midnight. I bet Best Buy is gonna have pre-orders for Callie and Marie, and I fell asleep. But then I woke up at 1:40 and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna check Best Buy, and they didn't have it open. Then I woke up again at 2:43 in the morning. I was literally in like lizard brain doing this, and I recorded a video of myself, I'm gonna include at the end, of making a Best Buy account to purchase these in pure desperation 1 minute after waking up at 2 in the morning. That was crazy on its own, and then I went to pick them up in a complete haze on like a whatever caffeine high, just out of my mind, so many emotions from the semester, like fully numb. And then I showed up so embarrassed to pick up my amiibos at Best Buy, and the girl at the register is like, what's your favorite song? And I'm like, oh, Splatoon music? And then I remembered I was wearing a Pierce the Veil shirt. And Pierce the Veil just got big on TikTok, so she was an Old Guard fan gatekeeping me, like, okay, like, what's your favorite? It was kind of more friendly than that, but she was like, what's your favorite song? And I could not tell you how gone I was. Pierce the Veil is one of my favorite bands. There's 3 of my favorite albums ever. And I was like, I was like fumbling like Ralphie at the Christmas Santa top of the mountain in A Christmas Story with the football. I was like, Disasterology? No, the first one off of the House album. And she had to like help me. She's like, Heaven Above? And I'm like, Hell Above. And I walked out and she was like, you're a real one. And I had my Squid Sister amiibos and I was like, none of this feels real. But speaking of restocks and the good ones that I think just compromise nothing on their size and have such cool detailed designs and such cool dynamic poses and just own the size of the amiibo. Callie Marie and Meta Knight are my favorite ones just by style. I think Meta Knight looks so good. Just, oh my god, his hands look great. There's no detail lost on his mask. He's got a big old cape. He's got a big old sword. Like, he just looks awesome. Like, he's thriving at this size. And I think the scale is fine with Kirby and Splatoon and Animal Crossing. So these guys all kind of hang out. They're so cool. I got Metadidi together as part of the restock, right? In spring, not even really like fully because of Forgotten Land, but I just happened to be on a mall visiting kick. I was going to malls that I'd never been to in New England and checking out the Hot Topics and wearing cool accessories because I was new to dressing like a scene girl. And I would talk to the goth girls at the counter, and it was really fun. And I was wandering way north into New Hampshire to a mall I'd never been in, right, a couple weeks before Kirby came out. And I knew there were restocks because I copped Waddle Dee as a restock, and I was like, I'm probably set. I didn't really think I'd collect the set, but I was in a mall I'd never been in, and it was just weird and empty and magical and fun, and they had all these Kirby amiibos, and I was like, holy crap, I gotta make a decision. And in that moment, I decided to get Smash DDD on like his 4th re-release or whatever. It was another one of my favorite ones. The hammer material is so like, it's so solid. It's really awesome, and I think he looks pretty good. Meta-D together look great. I don't know. Even though I mentioned DDD kind of scales more with the people, and I am kind of like, I don't think DDD is that small, at least not in every game. They look great together, and I bought them together, and I was so happy. I said no to Warp Star Kirby and Kirby series DDD because I don't know. I like this quartet. I like them how they are. I like Waddle Dee's Clouds. I like his design. I like Kirby. I don't have a lot to say about them. Good together as a quartet. And I like the puffy clouds. I'm very happy to have them now that I do. And finally, Skyward Sword Zelda. I woke up on Skyward Sword release day, and I wasn't going to get any of the like bonus stuff coming out. They actually did pretty decent by Skyward Sword HG with extra stuff because they were scalping us. I am like unambiguously like, yeah, they shouldn't really have been putting a bonus price amiibo out there to hide a feature of Skyward Sword HD from us and stuff like that. I have a complicated feeling on whether or not I think the feature is as big as people make it out to be. I think it was kind of just like a headline thing where people were like, they're putting fast travel behind an amiibo. We're never going to see that amiibo again. But realistically, I don't think fast travel is that necessary to Skyward Sword, and this amiibo actually is in pretty good stock. But that doesn't like, that thought exists separately from, yeah, this amiibo has a terrible reputation because it was just such a greedy move in so many ways to do that. It was a greedy move on top of a pretty greedy game and a pretty greedy price. So, yeah, politically, I'm not aligned with this character, but it is one of my favorite amiibos because she's one of my favorite Nintendo characters. I love her. The colors are so good, and her expression's nice. She spends most of her time in the box. I have the bottoms of these cut so I can take them in and out. Because she, like, I don't know. It is hard to put her with the other ones because she doesn't quite scale with any of them, but she's my first Zelda amiibo. I might pick up Tears of the Kingdom, like, next year if they do that, if they have, like, past version of him. So I like that design a lot, and I wouldn't mind a Zelda and a Link. I want Ocarina of Time Link from, like, the A Million Years Ago set, but I don't think I'm ever gonna get him. maybe the Derby release, I'd be interested. So there's the gang. Wow. Catch me next year when Dread Samus Figma comes out. Thank you to Dread Samus and the Emmy for hosting this event. And yeah, I think I did moderately okay in this preview of using this camera. I have a lot more amiibo than I used to have. I'm gonna get back to working on my Disgaea 6 Defiance of Destiny official puzzle. Peace, and have a good evening. Happy Splatoon-ageddon. I just got reservations for the fucking Callie Marie amiibos at 2:43 in the morning because I and my subconscious had the idea of like, oh, what if Best Buy actually legitimately takes pre-orders for like a 3-hour window around midnight tonight? And then I'm like, no, I'm fucking tired. So I fell asleep, and then I woke up, and then it was 1 a.m. And I was like, dude, I should fucking check my phone. Am I dreaming? I should check my phone. I should check out the Kali and fucking Marie amiibos. And I did that, and they weren't open. And I was like, oh, fuck, whatever. It's complicated. I fell asleep. I woke up again an hour later. No alarm. I just woke up. I couldn't. There's one time I woke up in a dream, and then I woke up in real life, and then it was legitimately yellow. And it was go time. And, it was so fucking hard to set up a Best Buy account when you're not even awake.
I had to make, you know how fucking hard they want fucking Best Buy passwords to be these days? They need them to be fucking good passwords. There was one time where I tried to sign in with There was one time when I tried to sign in with my Gmail and Google account, and then they were like, alright, Layla, give us your Best Buy email. And I was like, you mean Layla at gmail.com? And they were like, implying I was supposed to say, like, Layla at bestbuy.com or something. So I finally got my ass through there. I had to make a whole new account. And, none of my usual passwords worked. I had to just go slightly more hardcore, but I wrote that shit down. It's in my notes app now. It really is. At one point I realized that my wallet's in the car, so I had to go to the fucking car, but I didn't. I remembered my security code. I got that shit locked in for some reason a week from now, at my local mall. I actually have those fucking Amiibos. It's late.